Follow your lead.
This is how we do things nowadays, folks. First you got to take a moment. Like I said, everybody loves the beginnings of my shows where I talk about how I have to change my settings because it's messed up, and I want everybody to see the show. But anyway, folks, hey, we're getting it together here. I'm getting it together slowly but surely. I call it on the fly. It might be CTE. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm falling apart. But I'm back. It's your favorite multi episodic nightly show here, Struggling with Sozio, episode 47. I'm back again. And tonight I'm joined by Mr. Brian H. Waters. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you having me. It's an honor to be here with a legend.
You're just throwing words around now. You can't throw around. Legend in what capacity, would you say?
Well, I'm a huge fan of pro wrestling. If I had the camera, you would see. And anytime I get to speak with people who actually had the nerve and courage to get in the ring and do it, I consider that, legendary.
Well, I
Because
appreciate that.
it's not easy. And I may have heard me say this, but I'll say it here. You will never catch me using the F word. You can do that. You have a license to drive and say that. I don't.
I got you. And sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, I think most people, fans, and certainly the wrestlers, and anybody close to the business knows that the outcomes are predetermined. However, a lot of the athleticism and physicality is no joke. In fact, it's quite dangerous and almost more dangerous than most professional sports to do on a regular basis. The way those like WWE guys do around all year long, you know what I mean, with no off season. It's fucking nuts. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate you saying that. But definitely not a legend. Definitely not a legend. I admire you, sir, because I was doing a little research on you. I like to do a little preparation before my show here. You're a producer, journalist, podcast host, and all in all, content creator on YouTube and a lot of other platforms. So, like, I admire anybody who can keep that many plates spinning and not break any of them, because just working and having a family and doing this is too many for me,
Yeah, it's tough, but it's also therapy.
Sure.
A lot of times, sitting here with the microphone, getting to talk, whether it's talking with your friends or talking about a trending topic. Like we said before, the talking is the easiest part. It's the posting and promotion. That's the part where it's like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that lately. Like, I was talking to my girlfriend about it probably yesterday. I don't want to say like I'm going to throw in the towel by any means, but a lot of days you just want to throw in the towel because and you start to think about what you're doing it for. And before I even start down that path, I want to get this out of the way at the top of the show because I always forget and I do it at the end. But let's just get some of your plugs out of the way, like where people can follow you and check out some of your work. Before we get into the why we're doing it and how much fun it is.
Yeah, so you can follow me at Brian H. Waters on all social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Haps News, and then you can also follow the Wrestling Round, which is my wrestling show created with my co-host, the real Dwayne Allen. I'll slide over; you can see it right there on the poster. He designed the poster. We created the show while we were in college as a way to help us practice and get reps for production skills when it came to video editing. And we both were huge wrestling fans. So it was like, well, let's create this show. So awesome. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So yeah. And then I also host Breaking Through the Glass Ceilings podcast where I discuss people's journeys through their stories of success. So I'm part of the National Association of Black Journalists, so obviously there's a lot of journalists that have been guests on my show, but I've also had musicians and authors. So that's a lot of places, but if you search Brian H. Waters in Google, I'm confident you'll find me.
For sure. Yeah, I just didn't know if you had anything in particular these days that you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. Well, the project you was a part of.
Yeah. The what? Dedicated to hard work. I was like, because I was a part of designing the logo for this project, and I know that the name had changed several times. So like I was trying not to say any of the wrong names that it used to be. And I was like, we decided on dedicated to hard work. And I've watched them all, so you would think I would know. But again, we've touched on this, folks. CTE, there's a little bit. It might be setting in. But if you'd like to speak on that project, that was an awesome little,
thank you.
It just concluded.
5 years ago, last month, it came into fruition. It originally was just going to be just photography, but our good mutual friend of ours who actually, brought us together, Blake Thomas. So I guess I should say Blake T. I'll get heat from him from that.
Yeah, I do it to him all the time too. I put his full government name out there, and he gets all upset.
But his roles in the business kept expanding, and then what you'll see is life took a turn for him. So we got all of that. We documented all that. So it was pretty cool. By far the most extensive project I've ever done. When you see people who you see a lot of these documentary productions, right? So in a few weeks, I have a young woman who was a part of the Michael Jordan documentary. She was a part of the production team, and it wasn't just her. So this was just me and Blake and you and shout out to our friend Hugh, Frank, a couple other people. But when it came down to the editing, it was just me, and pandemic happens. So there's times where me and Blake are literally on Zoom. And that's where you learn so much in the process. Okay, there's a way to share audio in Adobe Premiere to go through Zoom so that he could hear it and we could, edit that. We spent the Super Bowl editing the first one.
Damn, that's how you guys were editing? Like you guys were editing over Zoom?
Yeah, when
oh wow, you guys are dead, dude. Like you talk about, you talk about dedicated to hard work. Jesus Christ! Like if even if it was my brother and he was like, "Yo, let's just edit these things that we just did." Like we're into the Jerky Boys and like prank phone calls. So like, let's just say we did a bunch of prank phone calls. I'd be like, "No fucking way, dude! I'll see you the next time. The next time I come over, we'll do it. There's no chance. Scrap the project. Scrap it." No, that's crazy though.
Well, we wanted to be safe too,
Oh, of course. No, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah,
and it was like we wanted to get this out. I'll go behind the fourth wall here. Originally, we were targeting for after WrestleMania 34. Right. Yeah, that was the one in New Orleans. So that was 2018, in which we wanted to come out. But things happened. We had a bunch of footage, and I actually believe the only thing from that day that was used was the cinematic pans in the intro. Like none of the interviews was used, and even you could see the transformation of Blake throughout the project.
So like we put him into a shrinking machine. He shrank down into a much smaller, healthier Blake.
Yeah, no, but you see so many of you guys and your friends, just over the course. Of course, you look back, you're your own critic. You say, "Well, we could have did this or we could have did that," but ultimately, I was pleased, and me and Blake are still friends afterwards. Stuff like this. You see people. You can see creative differences, but I can say we didn't have. I mean, obviously we had some. Well, why don't we do this or why don't we do that? But it wasn't at the points where, I was ready to be like, all right, I'm hanging up on Zoom right now.
Well, yeah, and a lot of times too, it's just a matter of spending too much time with somebody, and that goes for anybody. I've said this before. If you cloned me, you would think that if you cloned yourself, that would be great. Mm-hmm. No, you would get sick of yourself eventually, for sure.
Even if that.
Yeah, dude. Even if it was a clone of you, you would get on your nerves sometimes, for sure. Especially if you're somebody like me who has habits that you do that you hate. You know what I mean? As soon as I would catch myself doing it, I'd be like, you see? I hate that. Stop doing that. But no, yeah. I mean, and plus Blake is such a tyrant, right? He's got to be he's just tough to work with as it is. As this documentary has exposed, it's exposed him for the monster that he is, clearly.
Well, you know him longer.
and I'm obviously saying this because I'm saying this in satire, because the documentary depicts quite a different picture in that Blake is actually a tremendous talent in multi platforms and a great person behind the scenes.
Yeah,
so,
right.
but enough of, like, we put him over enough now. Enough of
right.
like that's enough shine for Blake. Cut off. This is where the cutoff happens.
See, Blake, you should have gave him the world title. You would have got 10 more minutes.
You should have put me underlined next to Christian York, and we wouldn't have had a problem. But then that match never happened. You see, sons of bitches. But yeah, no, like you and I have some, experience working together at RCW. Several years ago. This is like what, 2012 ish.
Yep.
2011, 12, 13.
That's where we met.
Yeah. Many moons ago. But previously, before we started crapping on Blake, I was talking to you about keeping everything going, finding the motivation to keep doing it. But I think I was saying that, like, I need a little bit of a kick in the ass right now, because I guess we were just talking about how this part of it's fun. Like, this is great, start to finish. This is a lot of fun, talking and catching up with people, learning things. But then all the post stuff that you kind of have to do yourself until you're fortunate enough to maybe have somebody do it for you, or be part of a network, or get a contract or something like that. I don't know what the world yields these days. Like, I don't know what, like, these types of jobs are even going to be, other than what we're doing right now. You know what I mean?
That's true. I look at a lot of things and I say, well, sometimes when you're starting out, you may get 20 or 30 listens. You may get 10. I might get in trouble, but whatever. I was in an anchor group and I saw some newer podcasters, and they were posting, and their like average listens were like 5 or 10, and they were celebrating. And I was like, good, you should, because that's 5 or 10 people whose attention you didn't have before. You never know. A lot of times people do want the quantity, but if you can get quality listens, I've had people, especially with the Breaking Through the Glass Ceilings podcast, I've had people come to me and say, hey, I'm really happy that you did this show. Please keep going. You shining a light on people who that probably never get light shine, or we just didn't know, especially for college students who they get motivation and just some advice, and it's free advice, and a lot of times podcasting is free entertainment, and it can be, sometimes like, I don't feel like doing this. I tell people all the time, like with the wrestling podcast, when wrestling isn't going the way I like it, and you're gonna do like a weekly recap on my thoughts, I won't do a show. There's no point in doing a show, or I'll just interview somebody or do like a special. But there's no point in complaining, with sport, the same thing. So overall, there are times where you're just like, man, I don't even feel like it, but that's the beauty of it. But what it also does is, I tell especially people who want to break into the industry as a producer or content creator in general, the fact that you can do your own show will show employers you have the discipline to create, to edit, to post. Yeah, sure, you may need some things where you have opportunities you can work on. Here's the thing. I tell people this all the time. The wrestling realm got me hired by ESPN. And the reason is because when I went there, I had the Baltimore Sun, the Better Business Bureau on my resume. But when I was in the interview and I told the lady that, I have my own wrestling show, it's called The Wrestling Realm, she like got excited. She was like, where can I check it out? And I said, on YouTube. Wasn't a wrestling fan. The only thing that was like, she was from Sarasota, Florida. Okay. And everybody knows when you mention that city, it's only one person that was ever born there, but that's when she was like, oh yeah, I want to check this out. And then when I got hired, I was on her team on my first rotation. So, and I remember telling Dwayne, my co-host, that I said, yo, the realm got me hired. I said, thank you for coming along on this journey with me, and the presentation, because he designed like the logos, and we was using the old logo then, but I had a wrestler talk show for my cousin, and things just kind of came to an end. He had some other things going on, but after that, like, I was in college, it was like just as I was like going upward, and this is around the time when I'm coming to RCW as a fan, so I'm like actually getting out there, and then all of a sudden he can't do it no more, and then good Lord allows me to meet the real Dwayne Allen, and I was like, I remember telling my now wife, it's like, I found my new co-host. She was like, what? I said, I found him. We was in class today. He loved wrestling just as much as I do. This is it. And she's like, you can't replace your cousin. Then she met him, and she's like, oh yeah, this is the guy right here. He's my daughter's godfather.
Yeah. It's weird how things like that happen. And like even just a moment ago when we were talking about the documentary you and Blake produced, again, breaking down the fourth wall. I won't get too far into it, but it wasn't always necessarily completely focused on Blake. Some of the stuff that you guys were working on was going to feature some other people that you had to edit out for just public reasons. And, so fate took it a different way. And I guess what I'm getting at is I think it turned out much better. I think the fact that, Blake and all the different things that he's into just made it a much better story, But yeah, man, no, I definitely follow what you're saying. I think I said this earlier. It really boils down to like what you want to do it for, and I think I really need to fine tune the lane that I'm in to be something. Not that this hasn't been enjoyable, but like I guess the point of it was to get people to like share stories that were. I don't know, I guess traumatic for lack of a better word, and talk to people about hardships that they've experienced and whatever that was and how they overcame it. And I thought that would be compelling. And in a lot of ways it is. But it just, it becomes difficult to seek out and ask people to put themselves in an uncomfortable position the way that Tim Donst did in my earlier episodes, talking about his cancer. And then in another episode, talking about, his dad trying to kill his mom. You know what I mean? And like, it's hard to compete with some of these things. And also, like I said, it's hard to cultivate guests, So I'm thinking I might have to find a different lane soon, but that's neither.
And you'll notice that there'll be times where you'll switch it up. But I definitely think you have a great thing going because you will reach people because you in the same lane, right? So like, for me, and when I speak to journalists and producers, I can say, well, talk about your experience with this because this is my experience. You being in the ring, being a wrestler, and that's what fans have liked. That's the reason why people like Austin and Jericho was able to get shows. Now, it seemed like the WWE, and this is me talking, not Sozio, so don't blame him. It seems like they say, oh, they got this thing called podcasting. Well, let's get on that. Let's do that too. And it's like, y'all got everything else. Come on now. But it's one of those things that you can relate because you were in the trenches and as a wrestler, when you're in a match, you literally have somebody's life in your hands.
Big time.
And I've always been able to commend y'all because I'm like, man, some of these people, they be acting, I don't know.
And the bar keeps getting raised, it seems. I started back in 2002, 3-ish. And, it just seems like the physicality and the athleticism bar just keeps going up and up and up. And it's like, what are we going to do next? What haven't I seen? What haven't I seen? I guess my question is what is somebody going to do a Canadian Destroyer off of next? That's just all that there is. It's like they're going to do it off the post to the floor, I guess.
And I remember when that move, it was like, wow, it blew me away. And now it's every other person is doing it. It's like the super kick.
And especially when they do the multiples in a sequence, it's like, it got to a point where wrestling was depressing when I would watch it, just for the sheer fact that like, as I got older in the business and this stuff got more popular, I was like, do I really got to subject my body to this now? Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it looks easy and some people make that shit look easy, like, and it doesn't hurt. And if you're good at backflipping, yeah, it's great. but I never was. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I never looked forward to taking a destroyer, nor did I ever take one.
Okay.
So at least I could say that.
Yeah.
You know, I never fucking took a destroyer, you motherfuckers. But like I guess talking about these jobs that we have and some of the jobs that multiple things that you're into, what are some of your short and long-term goals, and I guess how has the fucking pandemic affected that? Has it changed anything?
It's it's weird because you want to have a plan, but you also gotta change with the times, right? So when I came out of school, the goal was, all right, get a job in working at ESPN. Let's see where it goes. Working in TV, producing. Eventually want to move up to a television producer. But then they switched me to social media, which was the greatest thing that could have happened. Right. And funny story, so that January, I was ready to come back home. I left August 2015, but January 2015, like around the time my daughter was born, I was like, I'm ready to move back to Baltimore. But then all of a sudden, I applied for my alma mater, Morgan State. They went with somebody else. Now I can say thank you. I applied for it was like a associate producer position for the television show, but they hired somebody else. And then after that, I went to 2 weeks, about a month later, ESPN rotated me out for the Mike and Mike show in the social media. And because I was in social media, I was able to do everything. I learned how to produce better Photoshop graphics for post games. I've really learned how to produce social media content for live events. So during that time, I got to do the NBA Finals, NFL preseason, NHL. That's awesome. And it was so cool. My first full week, it was the week of the national championship game.
Oh wow!
So the cool thing
you got thrown right to the wolves. basically. It was just like, and by the way, you're deep in it.
Right. And my assignment for that night, because I was so new, was to look on this program and find all the celebrity tweets. So like, this is easy. But then because of that, I also got to the night the Warriors won their first of 3 championships. I was in the control room and I had to find the tweets after we had finished posting stuff. I had to go find the tweets for SportsCenter, and I remember letting them know, "Hey, we need to put Mark hanging with Mark Curry, hanging with Mr. Cooper." I said, "We need to put his tweet because he's been a Warriors fan since forever." So
yeah, I remember that. I remember that from watching the show. Yeah.
Yep. So being a part of that was really cool. And that's cool. When I realized, I said, well, you know what? Maybe I want to do social media more. Like producing TV is fine. And I love video editing, but I really love the social media content. And that's when I was able to go to WSU and CZW to do some work there.
Yeah. And it seems like, I guess the reason that I've been having like motivation problems is that it seems like that's all that there is. Mm-hmm. And like, I was just talking to Yolanda about this. Like I asked her, like what is it particularly, and not to say that you're not to say that you're after this with any of your endeavors the way that somebody like me was with pro wrestling, but like, what does it even mean to be popular or famous anymore? Mm-hmm. Other than like this existence that you and I are having right here. And then even obviously when you're alone and you're just looking through your social media, you're looking at your notifications and your likes and shit. It's like, I guess it's like hard to define your actual self-worth anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like what are you pursuing? Why are you pursuing it? How do you define your self-value? And it's I don't know. It's a deep question. I guess it's a very layered question.
It is absolutely. I will say this. One thing I've noticed from a lot of people is I can meet people at different events and they say, "Hey, you Brian H. Waters, I listened to your show and this, that, and other." Never will tweet about it. Never will mention it.
That's weird, right?
Yeah, and they'll say, "Well, yeah, I remember when you said such and such." There was even like one time I was at my day job at Johns Hopkins. I work as a communication specialist, and I was on the hospital floor, which is very rare where I have to go there, only if it's like we're filming or something. And somebody comes up to me and my manager was like, "Oh, you famous?" I was like, "They're a fan of the show."
Well, hey, I got listeners. I got listeners. You want to see my analytics? I'll show you my analytics.
Yeah, so I mean that stuff is cool. It's always cool knowing, like I said that earlier, knowing that you can say something that can give somebody put them in a positive light, or that you can relate to them. Because a lot of times that will happen. And I remember we would go to, wrestling shows and you see fans, they would say, "Oh yeah, y'all the wrestling realm," if they see the logo. And that's the one thing I credit Dwayne on, because he was always big on branding. Yeah. And he was like, "All right, I made us shirts." I said, "Okay, I'm a part of one." So
hell yeah. No, I'm huge on that kind of stuff too. Like I mark out huge when I see like a nice logo, even if it's a company I don't even know what it is. Like there's this company out here called Aqua Phoenix. You gotta look up that logo. It's like it looks like an actual phoenix bird, but it's like in the shape of a water drop, and it's like blue and dark blue. Light blue. I mean, oh God. All right, I'm marking out for something nobody can see right now. Like anybody watching can't see it.
I see it.
And no. Oh, you got it up on your John right there. Yeah, so you see it. But my point is, man. Yeah, like I could probably allow you to share your screen, but it's not important. Everybody else.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, no, like I fall in love with that kind of stuff. It's like I want to meet the designer. God damn it. No, but I just get inspired, you know what I mean? Because that's the type of stuff I like to create. Like I've changed my logo 3 times now for the show, and I'm coming up on a year of doing the show. But because I'm just never happy with anything I create for myself.
I remember you created the back to Blake, the Simpsons Blake. That was his Twitter profile for a while. And it was
the
accurate.
Which thing? Which thing was it? The one in his hoodie.
It might have been. No, I think it was just the one in the RC when he wore the.
The Simpsons thing.
The Simpsons one.
Yeah. I didn't hear you say that part. Yeah, no, that was fantastic. Yeah.
So your work has always been phenomenal, man. I've always been a fan.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man. I tinker and obsess with those types of things, because God forbid I put something out and it's not, cropped perfectly. I wouldn't sleep at night. Well, for somebody who's anxious like me. But I'm looking over my notes here again, calling it on the fly here, folks. So obviously you said you still live in Baltimore, right? You still and you're from Baltimore.
Yep, born and raised, lived here 20. Well, how old am I? 34. So 32 out of 34 years.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask you. I mean, certainly living in the area, being from the area, a lot of crazy shit has happened over the last 7 months. In addition to COVID, have you been able to stay safe and keep your family safe? Have things gotten scary at times in anywhere near you?
My family's been safe. Unfortunately, one of my childhood friends was killed. Teenage friends was killed a couple weeks ago. Senseless violence, and that sucked. You think about somebody you would, play basketball with during the summer, and every time you see them, it's always love. They always, speak, never any issues, and then you find out that. So, outside of that, I've been fortunate, my family's been fortunate to be safe.
Yeah, I just know that, like, obviously because of other recent events, there's just been a lot of excessive violence in certain areas. And, I worry about all my friends, that live in these areas. I'm 2 hours outside of Philly now, but I used to live 35 minutes from the city. You know what I mean? Okay. I got a lot of friends and family out that way too. So, it's just a concern of mine, and just curious how people have been handling that and dealing with it. And, what you think maybe is even a solution in your eyes. And again, that's a layered question. And that involves politics, that involves money, that involves the police, that involves all these different things. But I'm sure you've thought about it. but I don't know where would you even begin?
It all starts with listening. It all starts with listening.
Observing and maybe doing something about it. Yeah, sure, but listening. Yeah,
when you have a difference with somebody, you want to, two people have beef. Instead of then fighting, just sit there and listen to each other. And then, and I think if we can do that in society, and start with the locals, if we can do that, then it helps, like Ice Cube just went out and, he had presented his contract for Black America. And I know some people wasn't happy. And what I gathered listening to him was one political party listened to him, the other one put him on the back burner. So he went with the not so popular, but the one that listened. So I think that's what we got to do, is listen and be genuine. And if you can listen and be genuine, it can help. I was speaking to my friend JC Shinoni, and we was talking about she was interviewing me, and that was one of the things I said. And she said, like, applying that when you're having uncomfortable conversations with people, it helps, because if you just listen, you won't always be able to be in their shoes, but you can at least try to understand where they're coming from and see where you can be of a solution.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge, man. I think that's not an answer people would probably usually give right off the bat. I think most people would be like, well, it starts with education. You know what I mean? It starts in the home, and it starts in the nuclear family, and keeping that, all that. I mean, guess what? All that shit is important, but listening is certainly most important, and not ignoring what's going on right here at home. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But what else did I have for you? Oh, I definitely wanted to, in talking as much wrestling as we have, I guess I just wanted your take on wrestling today. Like, as far as, I guess I'll say before, like, I hate that I have to constantly do this all the time, but it's like before COVID. So, like, what were you feeling about the business and the direction it was going and things like that?
I was excited to see AEW and WWE on television, or their products on television at the same time, to see Impact trying to make a run, MLW, ROH. I was excited. But, and you also had NWA at the time.
Yeah.
I can't, exclude them. And I think that with all these companies thriving, that allows it trickles down, allows the indies to thrive. But I know a lot of people want that high, right? That high of when they first started watching wrestling, or when it was the best to them. So sure. I know, like, for me, I started in the 80s, pretty much when I was born. So let's just say late 80s, really able to digest the 90s though. But even during the Attitude Era, there was still elements from the 80s, whether it was, we talked about logos, right? So yeah. I'm a huge fan of the classic WrestleMania, the classic SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and Survivor Series logos.
Yeah.
So I remember during the Attitude Era, I was like, man, can't they just use that? Like, it was classic. But now, I know a lot of people, like our generation, they would love to see the Attitude Era back in some way, shape, or form. But
they wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even know what to do.
Exactly.
Like, people watching wrestling today weren't even alive then, and that's crazy to say. Mm-hmm. Like, that's crazy to say out loud, and just makes me feel old. But like, yeah, they weren't even. Damn, they would love that so much more than the garbage today. But I'm sorry.
It's funny because it's some friends I have that's in the journalism world that loves wrestling, but I'm like, so when did you start? Oh man, the Ruthless Aggression Era. I'm like, the Ruthless Aggression Era, to me, that was some boring stuff. It was good. Some stuff that bored me, but it's like, so everybody wants that high instead of then just saying, okay, this is what we get. Let's accept it. For me personally, when it comes to companies like AEW, I wish they just stopped mentioning WWE names, where they always come off as like.
Do they talk about it a lot? Like, just out loud? Like, they just.
Well, they don't say that. All right, it's always when somebody comes like Rusev or Miro right. Now, he goes over there, he's going to take a shot. Somebody always got to take a shot. Taz went on and took a shot and said, yeah, because over here we do this. So it's just like,
yeah, I hate that, dude.
You know?
Yeah. Like I honestly could say I don't follow much of either product. The most I know about everything is because I'm still on social media. I have a lot of friends that work for these places. I listen to my friends' wrestling podcasts, so I know what's going on in WWE in some capacity, you know. But I know for sure that every time I hear about Cody Rhodes taking another shot at Triple H, I'm just like, go do your thing. Yeah. Like, if you guys are succeeding and you're better, go be better. Just go be better. Stop with the sledgehammers and the thrones and the skulls and the bullshit. and like you said, everybody else that deserts the Titanic has to throw rocks on their fucking way down. You know what I mean? It's like, just knock it off.
Do you ever miss it? Like, do you ever miss watching it?
Yeah, like I definitely that's a weird question. Like, I don't think I've ever, nobody's asked me that ever, like maybe ever, I don't think. But do I miss watching? Yeah, no, I wish that I could somehow just wipe like Men in Black myself. You know what I mean? I wish I could neuralize myself and just go back to enjoying it the way I did when I was 16 and I was in high school, and DX was everything. Like, you know what I mean? And like literally that shit got me over in the lunchroom one day. Like we'll say 4 or 5 tables down, like the upperclassmen were talking shit on us, and like this is before everybody was like crotch chopping and shit. So like I just stood up on my chair and like nobody else was standing, so like the whole joint could see me, and I just did like a bunch of crotch chops, and like everybody lost it. Like the place lost it. It was like, oh shit, like, and it not only did it like elevated me in high school, like on the popularity scale, you know what I'm saying? Like, so DX was like gospel for me. Triple H, HBK obviously, but yeah, Trips was always my shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Man. No, I really wish I could just go back and enjoy wrestling the way that I used to. But, I know too much now. It's impossible to watch a wrestling match without critiquing the fundamentals. It's impossible. Like, I don't know. Sometimes
when I left ESPN, I had to stop watching for about a month. Like, stop watching Sports Center, stop looking at their social media feed, because I was thinking, oh, this is what they're doing and this is how they're going about things. And, and then, and I would check in, especially like, friends post a highlight on social media. Hey, I just did my first highlight, or I did this highlight. Of course, I watched that, but I had to kind of like take a step back, not needing to watch sports, because it was like, I don't have to do this. Like, there was a time where I was like, all right, I gotta watch this game and that game. And the thing is, like, when you work on sports television, you watch it on your day off because you want to make your job easier when you go in. So it was times where I did have to pull back, and then it for being a Ravens fan, it helped that the Ravens weren't going to be good, and they end up not being good that year. So that part helped. But I will say that, like, that's the reason why I never wanted to work for WWE, because I grew up loving it so much that I didn't want to hate it.
Yeah, it would reveal the magic a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Or God forbid, you'd find out it wasn't so magical. And that a lot of people weren't so happy. And I don't really know what the current state of the joint is. I'll just say that I know one of my good buddies that works there has told me only good things. He said that imagine it's like, most indie companies you've ever worked for, where everybody does their job. Like, like everybody top to bottom does exactly what they're supposed to do and is on time. And, like, it's like, wow, really? You mean like the timekeeper's not running around out back smoking weed right now, and he's not like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the shit that we deal with on the indies. You know what I'm saying?
The owners making slick comments and acting like they tough, knowing good well they ain't gonna say stuff to you in your face.
Oh shit, yeah, man, fuck. That's I definitely I'm just trying to. Do you have any other interesting questions like that for me that I could answer for you as far as wrestling goes that
Man,
maybe you have ever wanted to ask?
no.
I'll open the floor to you.
Would you? Who would you say gave you your best match?
A lot of people. Black G's for sure. I had Latin Dragon was always fun to work. Chris LaRusso, kid from out in Pittsburgh. Who the hell else? I had who's made me work sometimes. Rhett Titus. He that kid will make you work. Jesus Christ. Who else is giving me some? Derek Frazier. Jesus Christ. He's number one. I don't know how I almost glanced over Derek Frazier.
Derek was like one of the him and Ruckus were like the first two wrestlers that I really got a chance to spend time with and just like listen to them just talk about the business and how, even from the business standpoint, why things should be a certain way. And I always remember that. Did you ever think, you being a graphic designer, did you ever consider like really getting into it as far as wrestling and designing for multiple companies?
I guess maybe, but I never really knew how to go about doing it. Like, I guess I'm really simple, and unless there's like a job application somewhere or a job posted somewhere, I don't know how to get it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to get the job. So yeah, like it might be fun to do something like that. It might be fun to do some graphic design work or something for WWE. I don't know what all that would entail. I don't know what the demands are, the requirements, but for sure. For sure. You were just saying though about Derek and Ruckus. Did you ever like get dizzy watching them call a match? Like, did you ever see them? Did you ever see them putting together a match and you're like, Jesus Christ, how do they remember this bullshit?
Actually, I watched Derek. Oh man, I forgot who his partner was, and I forgot it was at Greg Excellence Promotion, back in 2013 I think it was 2013, and they were putting together a match, and this is when we was going to work on a documentary. You may remember this. We was working on a documentary for Derek.
Sure.
And I was sitting there and I was just recording behind the scenes. And for me, the magic was watching them put it together backstage and then going out there and watching them. And then this is the first time. And Derek, when he went there, he was heel. He was like, yeah, come on down and bring the camera and walk down the aisle with me. So inside, I'm marking out like, you mean tell me music's going to hit? I'm going to get to walk out down the aisle and be at ringside. And I remember just trying to stay out of the way. And then I had on some Air Max, and it was black, white, and orange Air Max. And there was like a fan that just said, "Hey, cameraman, nice shoes."
No way.
Yeah, and it was like, I mean, that day was just like, I was like, I can't believe I just got the chance to do that. Like talking to 5-year-old Brian, telling him, yeah, you can one day walk out, walk down the aisle with a wrestler.
Yeah.
I believed you.
And somebody's going to talk about how cool your shoes are.
Which could have went the other way, because I was just trying to make sure I didn't stay in the fans' way. They on the front row, so you don't want to mess them up,
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Hell yeah. No, it's cool how the mind does that too. Like how it just when you're experiencing something like that, it's recording in high def. You know what I mean? Like it's so like when you recall that type of shit, But but not Derek, and then certainly Ruckus too. Like he was easy to work. He I don't know, I can't remember if this was his nickname or not, but like. Or maybe him and Trent, honestly. Him and Trent Acid. Like, I didn't work Trent. I just mean Trent and Ruckus were both, like, the Heartbreak Kids on the indies. Like, and by that I mean, like, made everybody they worked look good, and they were super easy to work. You know what I mean?
And that's like the one person I missed that I never got a chance to see him. By the time I got into indie wrestling, unfortunately, he had passed away. But I've heard nothing but, like, great things about Trent as far as the worker.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have anybody's like CZW Studios account, or if you have one, Like how I just assumed that you would steal it before you would have one. Like, yeah, like if you're like me and you use Nell's CZW studio account, if you need it, I'll give you his information.
Yeah, I had one years ago, but when somebody didn't have the balls to fire me and say, or just be man enough to say, we're gonna go in a different direction, DJ Hyde. It lasted for about another year and then it left, but it's okay. I think Hotspot's got the are they the ones that get paid for the DVDs? Because I still want to get the DVD where I got to call a match. I got to call WSU, one of the WSU shows. So I want to get that.
I mean, I don't know if you can buy them through like anything with CZW anymore. But I would say High Spots is probably going to be your best bet and most reliable and secure way to get that. I mean, certainly any money that doesn't go to fucking DJ is better, like. But hey, I think he's got more than his. You know what I mean? I think Karma's swinging that fucking lariat back around, isn't it? So, sorry, man. Sorry.
Look, I know it's probably some of my church people watching. Look,
hey, yes,
God ain't through with me yet.
Yeah,
I just said God ain't through.
No. Like I was thinking about that. I was like, I think I've kept it clean most of the show, and like my sign off has swear words in it. So like maybe I was like, maybe I'll edit myself since Brian is a man of God here. Like I don't want to put you in bad standings with the Lord because I'm rubbing off all my bad juju right now.
You good, man. You good.
I mean, I was raised Catholic. I went through all the all the stuff. I was baptized. I made my first communion. Made my confirmation and all that wonderful stuff. I just
Catholic school. I actually grew up. Shout out I think somebody went to Catholic school. Rob Ward was watching for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I went. Yeah, she was watching. I went to Catholic school, kindergarten to 8th grade. So,
wow,
which is interesting because I wasn't raised Catholic. I was raised in a non-denominational church, but I got to learn both ways on how to do things. So, I'm always a Bible believing Christian, and I'm a realist. So, like I said, by no means am I perfect.
Nobody is. But no, I was raised Catholic, and I don't know. So somewhere along the way, like my family, at different times, we like puttered out going to church. Like eventually, I think they kind of stopped making me and my brother go, and then my mom didn't stop going, and my dad kept going, and now he doesn't even really go. But he still, he still has his faith and is, I would say, a practicing Catholic. It just doesn't go to church anymore. I personally am just more of an agnostic. As I've gotten older, I kind of just believe that something's going on that I can't explain, but I'm not going to say that there's nothing. That's for sure.
Right.
Where do you tend to dig deep for your faith?
Well, I go to church every Sunday, and if I'm not working, so and prayer, definitely pray multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Not I think that's good. Of it. And I will, I pray for everybody. And even times I'm like, man, oh no.
Yeah, no, and I think you would agree that I think that's when most people need it the most. When times are the craziest is when you gotta really just go, okay, I'm gonna get through. My family's gonna get through this. My friends are gonna get through this. And I think most of us have been pretty fortunate during these times. You had mentioned your friend earlier, and that stuff's going to happen. But like you said, you got to somehow remain positive. You got to keep trudging forward. Keep on praying, I guess, right?
Yeah, because we're not going to understand. We're not perfect. We're not going to understand everything that happens in life.
Yeah, man. Well, that's all the time I was going to take up of yours tonight, sir. But like I said, if you've got any more fun or interesting questions you've always wanted to ask a retired, aging poorly, a former world champion, the floor is yours, sir.
Matter of fact, you bring that up. They always say, in wrestling of parts of real are winning your world title and the Hall of Fame. What was it like when you won that world title?
It was one of the surreal times for me in CZW. I would say, like, there was a couple of like times that were, again, I guess for lack of a better word, that seemed surreal. The first time that they let us as greenies like do a run in, and we were like out there in the ECW arena in front of the people under the lights, even though we were just getting our asses kicked by all the vets or whatever, like, like that sort of stuff's burned into your mind. Performing in the cage of death, like that's fucking nuts. Like being in the ring with, again, like somebody like Ruckus, who I first watched as a fan. Like the first show I was at was Cage of Death 3, where he wrestled Trent for the junior heavyweight title. And then, just a couple years later, you're in the ring with the guy. I'm hanging out with him at his house. It's, it's crazy. And now to this day, we're still good friends. But, winning the world title was the same thing. I was probably like a little too excited. Like when I go back and watch the footage, like things were moving a little too fast. Like I was a little too anxious to get to the moment. Okay. But and it was a little bit different too, because it wasn't just a straight up match. Like the way that I won the world title was sort of like a Money in the Bank situation. When I won, I took it off of Biff Busick. So, but still, nevertheless, like getting to stand there in that ring, holding that title, center of attention. I'm the man now. Like,
how do you keep your composure knowing that you're going to win? And how far in advance did you know you was going to win?
I forget if it was like months or weeks, because we had mapped things out from like May till December. Like we had because Drew Gulak was the champion. The Front took the title because Biff Busick beat him. He was the champion for several months. And then I Money in the Banked my own guy to take the title off of him. And then I wore it going into Cage of Death after a couple of defenses against Biff and Nell. So I maybe knew a few months in advance. And I remember I was talking with Gulak about it, because Drew had some influence at the time. He wasn't by any means booking or anything like that for CZW, but he just had some influence with DJ and certainly the direction of the world title, because he was the one carrying it and, basically wearing the banner of the company on his back at the time. Right. So, I remember talking to him about it. He's like, yeah, so we're going to do this. And then, Chris is going to take it from me. And then you're going to take the belt. And we're going to do this, this, and this. And then I think I stopped and I was like, what did you say? He was like, we're going to do. I was like, I'm going to be. He's like, yeah. I was like, I think I had to keep it cool with him a little bit too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think I had to be like, you sure? Like, I had to stop myself from going like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? So it was just flattering to know that, like, my partners, the guys I'm working with in the locker room, especially guys like Drew and Biff and everybody, like, believed in me and like thought that was the right thing to do. And like, it wasn't like anybody was like, nah, that's a fucking, like, we can't put the title on him. No, like, everybody supported it. So it was definitely a culmination of everything that I had worked for. And I think that I was talking about this with somebody else, but I really set out to do everything that I wanted to do in wrestling. I wanted to be the best in CZW, and that's what I ended up being for just a short while, but I did it. Yeah. I didn't particularly travel the world or anything like that, but I'm definitely happy with what I did accomplish, because it meant something to me.
Yeah. I haven't seen the kick out finish from you, as far as jumping back in the ring, back and forth, retired, not retired. But I always wondered that. I think back to like in 2019 with Kofi Mania and just the whole run, and he's doing all the shows and stuff. And I'm like, that he's got to win the championship. There's moments in wrestling, and that was one of them. That one and Daniel Bryan where I was like, so attached. I was like literally praying that they won the title, and they did, and, but I'm like, what's it like when you're the performer and it's like, you're getting it, but you gotta essentially kayfabe everybody else.
It's a big responsibility all around, because once I took it and I was like, all right, I gotta keep working out hard. Like, I can't give up now. Like, I gotta keep working on my body, like, because I got in really good shape at the time, and I have to not make an ass of myself. I was already dressing up everywhere I went, so I continued to do that. You know what I mean? Because that was part of the shtick anyway.
Yeah.
But I just tried to bring a little bit of that realism back to wrestling. As fake as I know, as I have carte blanche to say it, as fake as it is. I just felt like we need to keep a little bit of realism in there. Like, we gotta. The same way pro basketball players travel in suits, like, so should wrestlers, and they used to, but times change, and now it's Zubaz and fanny packs and shirts cut at this angle, whatever that is. And I know, because I used to have 1,000 of them. I know, because I used to do this shit. Okay. Mm-hmm. I know what an asshole is if you used to be an asshole.
Do you still understand you might not watch as much? Do you still watch WrestleMania the same way? Like, is that still your Super Bowl as a wrestling fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely still be sure to, like, watch those events. Like, I just won't watch weekly shows. I just, I don't feel like I particularly have time. But those things are still a big deal. I would say I just don't get into them as much, and then when I do sit down to watch them, I don't know what's going on or why, so I really have to pay attention to, like, the video packages. But
so that's the reason why we got to get those video packages every year. And it's like, can't we just get to the match just for you?
I'm the reason for the video packages, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we'll have to call the title of this episode. I'm the reason for the video packages with Brian H. Waters. Now we'll come up with something good.
Good. This is great, man. This is great.
Yeah, dude. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna take up too much more of your time. So we'll wrap it up here. Do you have any closing words for the people here, sir?
Hey, just always remember, keep going. No matter who you are, you're inspiring somebody. There's somebody out there looking up to you, wondering like, hey, I wish I could do that. Or they doing this, like Sozio does a podcast. And maybe when I'm finished getting in the ring, I'm going to do a podcast, or I'm going to share my story. So don't give up, just don't give up.
Don't give up, folks. I'm Nico Sozio for Brian H. Waters. I hope you had a good time, and if not, you can go fuck yourself. That's how we do it, and then we give the sign of the cross for the people, just to make sure we go to hell.